Hello for the 14th Sunday in Ordinary Time, using all three readings of Ezekiel 2, 2 to 5, and 2 Corinthians 12, 7 to 10, and Mark 6, 1 to 6. And it all has to deal with rejection, or the quote from the gospel that led me in that direction is where Christ is talking about a prophet is not without honor except in his own native place and among his own kin and in his own house. I think one of the realities of life is that sooner or later, or often, or sometimes, we will experience rejection. And so did Jesus. One of the readings tonight or this morning, as far as Ezekiel was told by God, I'm sending you to the Jewish people, and the Jewish people, these then, were the ones in Babylonian exile, captivity. And God is telling Ezekiel, it's going to be tough. You're going to be rejected by them. And this happens often in our life. The words in the prophet is, uh, these people will be hard to face and obstinate of heart. And it was. And Ezekiel experienced rejection. Well, in the second reading, Paul was another different type of rejection. It wasn't with all these people, but it was with God. Paul is troubled with this thorn in his flesh. And he prays, or sort of prays, and tells God, take this thorn in my flesh away, help me. And God doesn't give him too much uh, nice stuff. He says, no, my grace is sufficient. And Paul learns through that rejection that even in his weakness and his problems, God still loves him and accepts him. But he rejects some of those basic ideas of Paul's ways, not Christ's way. But then Jesus himself, in his own native town, is rejected. Here he is becoming known more and more and more all the time. And he, especially what he says, how he is with people, and in a good sense, some of the wild, wonderful things he did for people, the lame and the blind, and curing people. But when he goes to his hometown, uh, they they don't have the faith in Jesus that all these other people are starting to have, and he's rejected. And it says there that, and he did few miracles there. And he said, okay, okay, and he's rejected. Well, we're all rejected sometime, somehow, some way. But we have to and called to do a thing. We're called to express ourselves and tell what we think and try to help in our own way and how we understand it. But we can be rejected, and it always hurts to be rejected. Politicians, I find it interesting. Politicians often are known nationally and so forth, but very often in their own hometown, their own home state, they're not accepted the way all these other people accept them. But I don't want to get into politics. So let me give you an example of my own life way back when, early in the priesthood. And, on all holidays or holy days or, big things in family life, I'd go home and others would come home and we would meet together and have a few beers and or a few scotches and start talking, whether it be politics or religion or family or, anything. But I remember one day and I think it was on an Easter. In fact, I know it was on an Easter. And it was with my brother Dick. And of all brothers or sisters, my greatest sibling rivalry seems to be with Dick. And so we're talking and having a couple of beers and a couple of scotches, and the volume gets going. It gets going to get higher and higher, and the temperature becomes warmer and warmer. And it had something to do, something about going to confession. And what you ought to do is just go to confession or something. Something stupid I said probably, or something stupid he understood or didn't understand. I don't know. But I'll never forget. He says, "Who do you think you are? You think you go over Europe and get all this study, and you're a priest and you know everything? Huh? We know who you are." It takes you and brings you down to here. And I often think of something like that and what we experience with people in our lives when we're rejected and just brought low, rejected. Oh, you move on and everything. But as far as at least some of these circumstances, like my brother Dick and I, we did. But rejection, Jesus was called to teach what the Father wanted him to teach. And we also believe that when we're baptized, we're supposed to be prophetic too. And so we're supposed to stand up and say some things, what we ought to be doing, or what is the message of Jesus, or what is goodness, or forgiveness, or love. And sometimes it doesn't work, does it? So we all hit this resistance and we get rejected. Well, what do? We need to go on, but we have to deal with that. If you have something to say and you think it's right, well, have something to say and continue to express what you think is right. So I find that my relationship with my brother Dick and other relationships where you're rejected, you can be a pastor. By golly, I don't care how, you could be Jesus himself, which we found out, and to be a great person to be a pastor, but you're going to be rejected by some of the people and some of the things that you decide to do. But it's hard. But the key is, how do we deal with rejection in my life? And how do I react to the challenges like that of other people, to what I'm saying, what I think, or what I know? And how do you overcome some of those rejections? It's part of life. Jesus had it, Paul had it, Ezekiel had it, and I know politicians have it. But we're not going to talk about politicians. Have a good day.